Breakdown time. Asu Almabayev versus Jose Ochoa. Initially this fight was supposed to be Asu Almabayev versus what do you call him? Ramazan Temirov or something like that. And Temirov, as far as I can tell, I didn't actually check his record, but he's been actually knocking people out, even though he's like super, super tiny. But like, he's been, doing some decent work in the division. So Ochoa is coming in on short notice. Ochoa actually, I think, got the finish in his last fight. I think Ochoa actually has a 100% finishing rate, if I'm not mistaken, and he has only one fight in the UFC. So obviously, at this particular point in time, it's kind of hard to actually assess how good Ochoa actually is. I'll actually try to double check. And in all honesty, I feel like Asu Almabayev genuinely was performing exceptionally well. Not exceptionally, but I think he was performing well against Manel Cup. Unfortunate that, as far as I can remember, obviously a part of me was biased when I was looking at that fight, but I felt like Manel Cup was busy. I poking Asu Almabayev. I think there were a couple of fouls that led to Manel Cup actually getting that finish. Okay, Jose Ochoa has two fights actually in the UFC. I stand to be corrected. Ochoa has only lost to Lone Kavanaugh via unanimous decision, which is not too bad considering Lone Kavanaugh is considered one of the best prospects currently, even despite his performance against Ochoa. But still, I think Lone Kavanaugh is considered one of the more decent prospects. So going to a decision with him is kind of admirable. He knocked out Cody Durden. Renee the coin tosser. Hello, Ankfest. What up, my guy? How are you doing, man? Welcome to the stream. Um, so Ochoa, so far so good. Going to a decision with Lonnie Kavanaugh, is nothing to scoff at. I think he is actually that was an actually impressive performance to a point whereby people started to feel like, oh, Lonnie Kavanaugh that not that good. So maybe it's not that he's not that good. Maybe Jose Ochoa is actually that good. Because I was one of those people who were questioning it. I was like, this guy doesn't have that many fights. Actually, he didn't have any fights in the UFC at that point. And after that performance, people were starting to feel like, oh, Lonnie Kavanaugh kind of struggled with Jose Ochoa. Does that mean he's not as good as we initially thought he was? Right. So, yeah, knocked out Cody Durden. And then Asu Almabayev, on the other hand, I need to go through some of his losses because Asu Almabayev has been like a really solid prospect up until um, recently, his fight against Manel Kape, which I genuinely feel like he was actually um, robbed, not robbed, but basically Manel Kape was basically allowed to cheat in that particular fight. So Azul Mabayev beat Ode Osborne, and we saw how good Ode Osborne is. Okay, maybe not that good if he he had that war with Rodriguez, and then but still he won his last fight. Let me not actually trash Ode Osborne. So that's a decent win. CJ Vergara is not that great, but still Asu Mabayev beat him. Even though CJ Vergara is not that great, he is one of those prospects who have um, what do you call it? Who have been a little bit, or rather, who came into the UFC with an undefeated streak, right? And then as well, he went on to beat. Is it Jose Johnson? Yeah, he went on to beat Jose Johnson. Unanimous decision. He beat Mateus Nicolau, unanimous decision as well. And then up until losing to Manel Kape, I felt like everyone was like, Asu Almabayev is this incredible prospect and everything like that. So, in comparison, the level of competition that Asu Almabayev has beaten, I think it's pretty decent to be honest. Mickey, okay. I think it's pretty decent to be honest. Ode Osborne, CJ Vergara, Jose Johnson. I think it's pretty decent to be honest. Mateus Nicolau. It's not the best competition, but it's pretty decent. Shoshot McGee. Asu is criminally underrated. I agree, man, and I think it's because of the Manil Cup performance. Um, I genuinely, I genuinely don't understand why people are writing him off of one performance, which Card Shoshot McGee Cup had to cheat to beat him. Yeah, that's actually the point that I was making initially. I was like, I genuinely, even though in the moment I will agree to the fact that in the moment I was a little bit biased because obviously I had picked Manel Cup and I wanted Manel Cup to win. But even I did mention that I felt like Manel Cup actually cheated. But in the moment, obviously, I was happy I got the pick right. But I agree 100%. Manel Cup actually had to cheat in order to beat him. He changed the outcome of the fight. But up until that point, what do you call it? Asu Almabayev was considered one of the best prospects in the flyweight division. Shoshangi Cup took his eyes out to get the win. 100%, man. I fully agree with that. I'm not even going to dispute that. As far as reach, Jose Ochoa has a 2 inch reach advantage. I don't think that's going to be that massive or influential. Where I have a problem is I feel like Asu Almabayev does not finish fights. He has a 57% finishing rate, whereas Jose Ochoa has a 100% finishing rate. So every single win that he's ever had has been via finish. However, you have to take into consideration that he's only had 2 fights in the UFC, whereas and he's only had one win, which is Cody Durden. Yeah, and I mean it's not the worst win, especially in comparison to Azul Mabayev. But when you look at the number of people, even though if Azul Mabayev has not beaten the best, the highest level of competition, I still feel like the competition that he's beaten is pretty decent as well. So one win over Cody Durden, that's impressive. TKO. Aswal Mabayev has been undefeated up until Manel Cup, who is probably one fight away from actually being a title contender. I don't think Manel Cup is going to ever be a champion, unfortunately, especially with Joshua Van at the top. Maybe he might have had a shot at Pentoja as he got older, who knows? But at this point, I don't know if Manel Cup is ever going to be a champion. Um, Shoshot McGee both have good stand up, but the youngin seems to get it, hit more and not be up to the ground. Okay, let me actually get to the technicalities of the fight. To Shoshot McGee, Cub versus Van will feed family. I agree. So yeah, let's get to it. Jose Ochoa has a slightly higher output than Asua Mabayev. It's not by much, but it's still a little bit of an advantage as far as output. Um, Technical striking ability, I think Asua Mabayev is better, man. I think he's better offensively, defensively. Um, Obviously, I do feel like Jose Ochoa is also pretty decent defensively, but I feel like Asua Mabayev is really, really good defensively. When you remove the fouls that Manil Cup actually had to commit, I think that fight, I worried in that particular fight. And obviously, the fight ended up changing when Manil Cup actually started to cheat in the fight. But up until that point, I was a little bit concerned, because the fight was really, really competitive. So as far as striking, I think I'm going to give the advantage to Asu Almabayev. To be honest, I know that Ochoa has a 2 inch reach advantage, but I don't think that's going to play that much of a huge role. Um, Even though I also feel like Jose Ochoa has a bit of an output advantage, not massive, but there's an output advantage. I just feel like Asual Mabayev is going to be a little bit more technically better. And obviously, I do sometimes say technique does not mean effective. In this particular situation, I think Asual Mabayev will be a little bit more effective because of the fact that he is equally good offensively as he is defensively. And admittedly, even Jose Ochoa is actually pretty good. If it was anyone else, or if Jose Ochoa had beaten the number of people that Asu Almabayev has beaten in the UFC, I'd be like, oh, I don't know about this one. But when you consider the fact that Asu Almabayev has looked really, really good, despite the fact that he's been fighting pretty decent UFC fighters, it makes you now consider like who is actually going to win, especially when you consider the fact that Manel Kape is basically a fight away from fighting for the belt. So even though Manel Kape cheated, still, even if Manel Kape had won clean, it wouldn't have been a bad loss. Like you have lost to one of the best, even though I don't feel like Manel Kape is that great, but still, you're losing to someone who's one fight away from the belt. It's not too terrible, to be honest. But still, I will emphasize that I do feel like Manel Kape had to cheat in order to win that fight. So striking wise, Jose Ochoa is pretty decent, but he hasn't fought enough people for me to have any sort of confidence. You can look good against Cody Durden. I don't know how you're going to look against someone who has a better striking base or something like that. So I need to see him tested. I feel like as well Mabayev is a little bit tested. Uh, isn't he ranked? Let me actually check. Yeah, as well Mabayev is ranked. This is kind of crazy, man. So why is Jose Ochoa is coming in on short notice? Okay, it makes sense. I was like, but like, why is Jose Ochoa getting a shot at Aswal Mabayev, who's ranked number 9, when Jose Ochoa is not even ranked? But now it makes sense. He's coming. He's replacing Ramazan Temirov, so it makes a little bit more sense. So yeah, combined with the fact that he's coming in on short notice, I don't know how his performance is going to be, but I guess we'll see. Um, I don't like the fact that Asuel Mabayev likes to go to decisions a lot, but I still do feel like Asuel Mabayev is definitely the better fighter here. Not by much though. So in all likelihood, even though Jose Ochoa is a finisher, I think in this particular fight it's probably going to go to a decision, because unless if Jose Ochoa does not have the best cardio, because that kind of output, you need to be able to keep it up for 3 rounds. And if you're going to actually be able to do that for a certain period of time, I don't know. Especially with someone who has a history of just finishing fights. Whenever those kinds of guys end up getting to the decision or the final rounds, the cardio starts to dissipate. But yeah, I genuinely feel like what do you call him? As well, Mabave, especially because of his ranking, I think it's going to be a massive, massive advantage, especially as far as experience goes. Um, let me see. And let me see. Jose gets hit so much. Jose gets hit so much. Slick offense, but zero defense. I fully, 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 fully agree. But I think his defense is not that terrible, to be honest. It's not great, but it's not. I don't feel like it's that terrible. But I think Aswal Mabayev's defense is significantly better. Shoshot McGee and has to worry about Asu's takedowns. Yeah, 100%. Devon Till, Hagen is getting smoked. We'll see, man. I think so too, but I wouldn't be so confident. But yeah. Another thing, which is what Shoshot McGee has actually been highlighting, is the fact that what do you call him? Jose Ochoa does not have the best takedown defense, man, and he just recently fought. He's coming in on short notice, so I don't know how much improved this takedown defense is going to be. As well, Mabayev is aggressive with the takedowns. He's very, very good on the ground. So on the feed is the only place I can see Jose Ochoa succeeding, and even in that particular situation, I think he's going to have a hard time, even if the fight stays on the feet. But that's the only place I see him getting success. on the ground, I think it's one-way traffic. And when you combine the fact that Jose Ochoa does not have the best takedown defense, I think most likely Asu Almabayev is going to actually end up winning this fight. My subscribers and I are officially going with Asu Almabayev. Let me respond to you guys so that I can go to the next fight. Jose will not throw leg kicks in this fight. Fight will only kick up top. Yeah, too worried about the takedowns. I agree. Shot McGee. Asu will see the shots coming, and Asu keeps good range. Yeah, agreed. Shot McGee. It's 125. It's hard to bet on a finish. I would rather bet on the guy at 125 that is more likely to get the decision. Okay, that's fair. Cow, have you got any good tricks in the fight game? Um, Not yet, man. I'm still learning how to box. But not yet. I'm still very early in my boxing thingy. So I would win a street fight, but not professional fight. I'm sure maybe professional. I think I would beat a lot of these amateurs, but not pro. I think actually that was a good statement. Amateur fights, I think I could win a lot of them with my training. Just that the cardio might be a bit of an issue, but yeah. Um, Shoshat McGee, I feel like Asu is closer to Jose's striking than Jose's wrestling compared to Asu's wrestling. Yeah, 100%. I also still think that even if the fight stays on the feet, I would feel like I would lean a little bit more towards Asu Almabayev, but I hope he doesn't choose to strike with Jose. I just hope that Asu Almabayev just opens up the wrestling with the striking. He doesn't decide to prove a point and stay on the feet. Shoshot McGee, cardio can take you so far in boxing. I agree, man. I agree. So at this point, that's what I'm actually trying to build. Anyway, let's go to the next fight, guys. Shoshot McGee helps with your durability and ability to recover from big shot. Yeah, I mean, I'm never going to fight professionally, so I'm just doing it for health purposes. I want to gradually get into MMA, but I need to have a good base for self defense. And at this point, I feel like it's a lot easier and safer to actually start with boxing as opposed to rolling on the mat. Um, so yeah, let me see, Cow Cow. Nice. I got some tricks in boxing. You might wanna try it. When you clinch in boxing. Spit in the eyes when you close to blur the vision. Then easy KO. Wow. Shoshat McGee, stay on the toes is the only way to live. Wow. Okay. We'll see. We'll see. We'll talk about it a little bit more as I get better. Hayden Brown, you gotta be really dedicated and sacrifice a lot most of the time if you want to be the best of the best. I agree. I agree, but I honestly have no intention of being the best of the best. I just want to be good at the sport that I'm actually covering, which is MMA. Also, health benefits. I have a bit of a belly fat. I need to deal with that. Apart from that, yeah, it's health. It's a lifestyle. I want to be a lot more healthier as I get older. Guys, let's go to the next slide. If you want to join me, go to the live section or just subscribe and turn on your notifications. But for now, go to the live section. I think you'll see the next live. Until then, deuces.